Good afternoon, everyone. Are you guys having fun at re:Invent? Great, great. I'm totally excited to be here, and I can't believe it's been a year we launched CloudTrail last year here. So it just feels like yet day one. So again, thank you for coming to this particular session. So today, before entering this room and at the security booth, I've been talking with some of you who are interested in CloudTrail. And there are a wide variety of customers who have been using CloudTrail for the last 1 year. And then there are some customers who are just getting started. So to make sure that we are all at the same level, what I'll do is I'll quickly talk about CloudTrail, what it is, and I'll introduce the payload that CloudTrail runs, and then go into the solutions that are available for you to act upon the data that is recorded by CloudTrail. So we also have Steve Toback from Merck & Company, who is here with us to share their usage of AWS and how CloudTrail helps them with their internal compliance rules. So what exactly is CloudTrail? CloudTrail is a web service that is recording the API activity that is occurring in your AWS account and delivering a log file that contains this API activity to you in S3 bucket. That's what it is in a nutshell. If someone were to ask you in one sentence, that's what it is. And we'll get more into the details, but there are a couple of points that I want to stress here, which is if you're using the management console, if you're using the AWS CLI, or you're using the AWS SDKs, all of that API activity that you're actually doing in your account is being recorded and delivered to you. It's not just the APIs directly. You could be using any of those to do those API calls. And another point here to note is you may be using a lot of higher-level services, such as CloudFormation or Beanstalk or OpsWorks, and those services make API calls on your behalf to other services such as EC2, RDS, et cetera. So those calls are also being recorded and delivered to you in about 7 to 8 minutes, typically. So there are multiple use cases that are enabled by CloudTrail. You probably heard Andy's keynote yesterday, which Andy was talking about how CloudTrail is and one of the services that is actually enabling customers to come use the cloud because it's unblocking the security and compliance-related workloads. So that is the most popular one. There's a white paper out there that talks about, I believe it's called Security at Scale, Logging in AWS. It talks about different compliance regimes and outlines specific controls that you can meet using the CloudTrail payload that is delivered to you. And the one that is actually very close to me and my favorite is troubleshooting operational issues. Last year, I was here at re:Invent. We launched this service, and I ran into a customer the same night at a party that you're going to go to again tonight. So this customer comes to me, hey, you're the CloudTrail guy that I was in your session, and I was doing a deployment with in one of our environments earlier this evening, supporting my application folks. And something was going wrong, and we couldn't find out what it was. And then I immediately turned on CloudTrail for my account and redid the same thing. In about 7 minutes to 8 minutes, I'm looking at these files that are being delivered to me, and I could see all this activity coming in, and I could pinpoint a particular API activity that was the root cause of what we were doing incorrectly, and I could go back to my application folks and tell them, like, hey, this is probably what it is. And then they looked into it, and they troubleshot it, and we were back up and running in about another 20 minutes. So think about it not only as a compliance aid, think about it as an operational troubleshooting tool for your applications. So last year when we launched CloudTrail in 2 regions, US East 1, Northern Virginia, and in Oregon regions. Since then, customers have come back and told us that CloudTrail is a foundational and a fundamental service for us. We need it to be available in every region. So we have continuously iterated on that feedback and made it available in all regions, all public regions today, with support in GovCloud coming pretty soon. On a similar note, we launched CloudTrail last year at re:Invent with support for 7 different services. Since then, we have iterated, and right now, 24 different AWS services are supported by CloudTrail. So I'll tell you where we're going with this, with the service support, so that you guys have an understanding. We are driving towards a full service coverage within CloudTrail. So you do not have to look up any matrices or like, is this service covered or not? Today, that's not the case, but that's where we're going with CloudTrail. You'd be able to turn on CloudTrail and have the assurance that all services will be recorded, all API activity in all services will be recorded by CloudTrail. So now you guys know what CloudTrail is and where it is available and what services, how many services are supported. Let me talk a little bit quickly about what actually CloudTrail captures. I tell this to my colleagues and friends, like there are 5 W's that CloudTrail helps you answer. Who, when, what, which, and where. These are very common words that we use in a day-to-day life, but the answers to these questions are very, very impactful. So let's go through these and look at what exactly is recorded in this particular, is recorded in CloudTrail events that help you answer these questions. So looking into who made the API call, it's the user identity information that you would need to go back and follow up with a user or take another action on, as a follow-up to that particular event. As you can see, there are multiple identities that AWS supports, like IAM user, federation. A lot of you already use federation so that you have one single identity across your on-premise resource, across on-premise and cloud environments. And roles, IAM roles, use them. So CloudTrail captures all of that user identity in the particular event, for that particular event. So as you can see, there's a lot of friendly information here, easily understandable information. The one thing that I want to call attention to is, I briefly talked about this, that there are multiple AWS services that take action on your behalf as prescribed by you. So for example, you write a CloudFormation template that has prescriptive declarations to go ahead and create RDS instances or EC2 instances on your behalf. So all such activity is captured within CloudTrail and is highlighted and underscored by the invoke by section so that you clearly understand that this particular action was the result of CloudFormation making an API call on my behalf. So let's look at an example. So this is Bob, an IAM user, is making an API call. You will see that the type of the user is an IAM user, and the username is Bob. Pretty straightforward. Another example is federation. In this case, Alice is a federated user who is making this API call. Bob, the IAM user, is the one that granted those federation credentials to Alice. So you'd be able to tell that information about not only about the user who's making the call, but the credential, but who actually gave those credentials to Alice. So when and what? So when you look at the event time and you look at it and it is recorded in ISO 8601 format so that it is well understood and unambiguous so that any systems that are processing these events do not have any time-related issues. What was the API call made? So is it a run instances call, or is it a terminate instances call, or any other API that is recorded? We'll have the event name in there. And these are all high-level fields that help you answer these questions. And then you will also have the event source, which is the particular service the API call belongs to. And then where from and where to. So if a particular, CloudTrail provides these 2 bits of information in source IP address. So for example, you're using the management console, and you're making an API call, you're taking an action that results in an API call. That particular IP address of the client is recorded, and not just the management console. Additionally, if you're making an API call to a particular AWS region, like such as US East 1, that information is captured as well. And going up, which resources were acted upon in this API call? So when you make an API call, you pass certain parameters, and the service acts upon those parameters and provides you response a response. So both these are captured in the request parameters and response elements and returned back to you. And that is a part of the CloudTrail payload as well. This is an interesting one. So a lot of customers want to understand, security-conscious customers want to understand what API activity is actually failing in my account due to lack of permissions. Is Tom doing something that he's not supposed to do? Who executed terminate instances API call but did not have actually the permission to do so? So CloudTrail records that information in an error code and error message form, key value pairs, so that you can look at that information or filter that information and answer those questions like, OK, this particular event, terminate instances, was run by so particular user because there is this error code of unauthorized operation. So a lot of you folks may have multiple accounts and are using AWS in multiple regions. So one of the convenience features that you have with CloudTrail is you have the ability to aggregate all the log files for different regions and different accounts into one S3 bucket. And CloudTrail writes the log files for different accounts and different regions in a descriptive folder structure. It has a nice hierarchy in there so that you can actually look into this one single S3 bucket and can still figure out which log file belongs to which particular account and which particular region and which date was written and at what time. And even if you take these log files and transport them into a different log management solution, or you simply download them onto your desktop, you still will be able to look at that particular file name and can answer that this log file is for this particular account or this particular region. So another feature that CloudTrail provides is you have the ability to receive SNS notifications. So what I mean by that is when you turn on CloudTrail, you specify an SNS topic. And CloudTrail will deliver a log file to your S3 bucket, and then will write an SNS notification. Using this SNS notification, you can programmatically, you can take more actions on it, so that you do not have to actually keep track of the files that have been delivered, the files that you have downloaded, and what else do you need to download, because you now are acting upon a particular SNS topic that you're listening into. So I think we're at a point I want to bring in Steve, and please welcome Steve onto the stage so that he can share us his story and Merck's story. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
So I'm Merck's cloud architect, and my role in central IT is to overall govern what we have out at Amazon and other cloud providers. And we use that for everything. Today we use Amazon for everything from production websites to more of our interesting things we're doing around drug discovery and analytics and that kind of stuff. So we've got a decent set of accounts with a bunch of different production applications. And I've got about 300 to 400 different developers that are out using the environment over the course of like a month, we'll say. So that's basically where we are from an Amazon perspective. In order to track all of this, I need tagging on everything. So that's sort of where this whole story starts. We start with a bunch of users using Amazon for applications and tagging to help us track who's doing what. Where CloudTrail comes in is today when someone does something in an environment. Say, for instance, they do a run instance call. I get the SNS notification, I queue it, I look for what instance was created, and I can check that instance to say, does it have my 4 required tags? So that I know right then and there, are they compliant? And then I can also send them a notification and stop the instance if it's not compliant.
So you're taking action based on what is in your tags and whether those tags are actually meeting your requirements or your compliance requirements or not.
Yeah, I'm taking action based upon the 4 mandatory tags and the values of those tags too, because it's based upon metadata inside our corporation. And I have the who did it, so I can automatically email that user to say, hey, please check the tag standard and comply with it for this instance you just created.
So I think one of the things that we talked about is you're also using identity federation.
Yeah, I'm
So
also using federation, so the federation helps because it allows me to know what the same unique user ID that exists in my environment goes back to my Active Directory, so I can correlate that to an email address. And I wrote all of this in Java code pretty much in like December of last year, so we've been using it in production for quite some time.
Awesome. So there was another use case that you talked about using the user agent information. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So we like to sort of profile our cloud users to understand what they're doing at Amazon, what services they're using, and perhaps send them in a different direction with some of their architectures. So as an example, I've recently looked and said, what users are using console versus what users are using APIs. The users that are using APIs and scripts, I'm going to consider them more advanced, and I'm going to send them a different set of training or a different set of white papers to look at than those that are using console, because I'm going to help them move more towards CloudFormation or more towards scripting in order to do some more automatic, less point and click, more automatic. So it's also a way to profile your users and help send them in a direction from an Amazon perspective.
Just to confirm that you have these 400 different, I lost you there for a minute. You're talking about different applications, right? So you had these multiple genome applications that
So I've got a bunch of different production applications, and I've got a bunch of different users. So I've got about 400 users.
I see.
Right? So 400 different developers, we'll say. Right? And they're using everything from a sandbox environment to a production environment.
Great.
To develop applications. We do a lot of build and fail fast, if you will, and
Okay.
not as many that make it to production.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please give a big round of applause for Steve. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about building applications. Now that you've seen data on what actually CloudTrail records, and what Steve has just told us that they listen on to an SNS message, SNS topic, and then programmatically take action on that. So there is a common set of tasks that customers are doing here on that particular SNS topic, listening onto that SNS topic. So we looked at it and said, okay, there is an opportunity here to make it easier for customers to build applications and give them more flexibility around building those applications. So what we did last week, 2 weeks before, is we launched a processing library in Java. It's called CloudTrail Processing Library. It provides you all the functionality that you need to do, that you probably would do today on reading those messages delivered to your SNS topic or an SQS message, which is hooked to that SNS topic, and downloads all those log files from S3 continuously, serializes those events into a plain old Java object for you to act upon. And then, because all of this is done already by the library, you can now write your own business logic on this. And this is fully fault tolerant, handles network timeouts, and it offers multi-threading support so that you can spawn multiple threads or multiple instances of the library, so that if you're actually aggregating log files for a large set of accounts, you can now do all of that processing without any limitations. So how does this library look and work like? So you've already turned on CloudTrail, and you have subscribed to an SNS notification, and you have connected that SNS topic or subscribed an SQS queue to that SNS topic. So this requires that you use the SNS notification and connect a SQS queue to that SNS topic. And you provide that queue name as an input to the CloudTrail processing library along with your credentials. So CloudTrail processing library starts, and it's continuously going and looking for messages in the queue, retrieving those log files, and delivering you events that you can act upon. And now, because you may be aggregating log files from multiple accounts, you can take multiple different actions, such as, I want to filter out the events for the accounts that are dev and test. Or you may want to say, I want to filter out those events that contain describes. Or the opportunity is there to implement your own business logic or endless. For example, you may actually want to define your own schema and persist them into Redshift for your own future for actually coming back and doing a historical trend analysis of your API activity. Or you can actually send a notification to an SNS topic that is wired to your email, right? So I'll show you a little bit of sample code here that is also available on our blog, and the code is also available on GitHub. So what this code is actually demonstrating here is if there is an event that is named modify VPC attribute, and if it's coming from EC2 and the event source is EC2, go ahead and send me an SNS notification. So pretty straightforward, but this is just a demonstration code, but you could do a lot of other things that are prescribed by your own business needs. So last year when we launched at reInvent, a lot of customers came to us and told us, we are already using a log management solution that we are very familiar with. So it would be great if CloudTrail data can be ingested into those log management solutions and analyzed using that. So this is significant for a lot of our customers because it offers them a single pane of glass for, management solutions, right? So I want to call out all the partners that worked hard to provide those integrations. And these solutions provide end-to-end analysis of logs from different sources, provide advanced features such as correlation between events. So I encourage you guys to go onto the showroom floor and look at different solutions offered by different partners and see what exactly meets your needs. These are all our technology partners, by the way. And then we have consulting partners who have integrated with CloudTrail that offer CloudTrail integration as a part of their managed services offering. So please feel free to go and check out their solutions that are already integrated with CloudTrail. So this, now that we've talked about two different kind of solutions that you have, one is like out-of-the-box solution from the partners, where you have dashboards that are readily available. And then you have CloudTrail processing library that allows you to write code of your choice, gives you a lot of flexibility around. And I want to move on to and talk about integration with CloudWatch logs. So we launched this feature on Monday, and this was driven completely by customer feedback, just as any other feature is. So a lot of you may be already using CloudWatch, and you are very familiar with the CloudWatch alarms and metrics. And you want to alarm and monitor for specific events that are occurring in CloudTrail and receive a notification when that occurs. So this feature allows you to exactly do that. You receive SNS notifications when a particular CloudTrail event occurs, and allows you to go back and, for example, like just Steve explained, you could actually go and look for the particular user and follow up with him or her. Or actually create a trouble ticket that you can actually go perform more deeper troubleshooting upon. So this feature is readily available today in Northern Virginia, Oregon, and Dublin regions, and will be added, and support will be added in more regions in the near future. So what do you need to do? The 4 simple steps. You turn on CloudTrail integration, the integration from the CloudTrail console, and then you define a metric filter. A metric filter is a specific pattern or a phrase that you're interested in that appears in your log files. And then you assign a CloudWatch metric to the metric filter. And you go ahead and the final step is you go ahead and create a CloudWatch alarm on that metric. So you basically specify that if this particular metric is more than this particular threshold, send me an alarm, which is a notification again. So now that I've talked about the steps, I want to actually go ahead and show you how you do one of this. So before I do that, as you guys can see, this is basically a metric filter to monitor failed console sign-ins. This is one of the most important, most frequently asked requests that I get from customers. How do I monitor failed console sign-ins? So you can see the syntax here for the metric filter. It's pretty straightforward. Whenever event name equals console login and error message equals failed authentication, send me a notification is basically what this metric filter will allow you to do once you set it up. So let me get onto my computer and go out of presentation mode for a second. And what I've done is, to demonstrate this, I've set up it in Oregon region. So for two authentication failures happening in less than a minute, I would get a notification. So I'll go ahead and type in a wrong password, and I'll try to sign in. Oh, sorry, my bad. Function F7. Nope. There you go. Did I get it? OK, thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my password incorrectly, intentionally. And so now I have kicked off this particular metric filter that is hooked up to an alarm, to a metric and an alarm in the Oregon region. So I will now go on to Ireland region and show how exactly you do this. All right, so I'm on my CloudTrail page, and I'm in Oregon, where I'm already set up. I'm moving into Ireland. And here you can see the CloudWatch logs is entirely optional, and I go ahead and click the pencil and type in CloudTrail/logs, continue. And it's going to take me onto a page where I'm being told that CloudTrail requires these two particular permissions for these two particular API calls, create log stream and put log events, so that you do not have to actually install any agents. And all these events are being delivered into your CloudWatch logs log group by CloudTrail. So I go ahead and click allow. And it's taking me back to my console, my CloudTrail console here. All right. So now I'm set up in Ireland with CloudWatch logs, a particular log group, and an IAM role that is already being written for my particular use. And then I go to the CloudWatch console. I'm already in Ireland region. And I go to the logs section. I just see that this particular log group that I created via CloudTrail. So I go ahead and select that particular log group where CloudTrail log files are being delivered, and I do a create metric filter. So I will, again, go ahead and copy this so that I don't have any syntax errors. Go ahead and put it in here. I would just do a test pattern. There is nothing wrong with the syntax. I go ahead and click assign metric. So what you're seeing here is taking that log and converting that into a metric. As you can see, this is the pattern that I'm interested in, which is event name is console login, and error message is failed authentication. And whenever that happens, and you can see that there is a logical and between those two, so it's not just one of those. It's a logical and, so both of them need to be occurring in a particular event. And I will name this as failed authentication filter and log metrics. Metric name is, we'll copy this. Failed authentication metric. And then I'll go and make sure that the metric value is 1. So basically, whenever you actually see this particular pattern, increment that metric by 1. And I go ahead and create that filter. That failed authentication filter has been created. At this point, I would go ahead and create an alarm on it and specify the thresholds. So I go here, and I create an alarm on this particular metric that I'm monitoring right now. I will call it the failed authentication alarm. And whenever this is more than 2, the metric count is greater than or equal to 2, for one consecutive period, alarm on it is what I'm defining here. And I will say that the time period is 1 minute, and the statistic is, I'm going to leave it as sum. And here, whenever the state is alarm, I'm going to say that the notification list I'm going to pick the topic that already exists here, or you can create a new one. And then I go ahead and do the create alarm. So now the alarm has already been created. So now if these particular events are happening in, 2 of those events need to happen in that 1 minute time frame for the alarm to generate an SNS notification. While that is in the background, I want to take a minute to go back into my presentation and show you guys more examples of what kind of metric filters you can write. So for example, you want to monitor for authorization failures. You could go ahead and write a metric filter that says error code is access denied and error code equals unauthorized operation. You could do all kinds of things. This is extremely powerful. So for example, if you do not want anyone to launch 8 extra large or 4 extra large kind of instances, you could go ahead and get a notification whenever the event name is run instances and the particular instance type is 8 extra large, whatever it is. And as you can see, the syntax supports wildcard, so you can actually say star.8 extra large. And then, obviously, as I said, the ability to write prescriptive metric filters against any particular event or type is available to you. And the last one I'm showing here as an example is API calls that makes changes to security groups. So if you want to know, it doesn't matter which API call in that particular API call, you would go ahead and write a component expression on all API calls that are making changes to security groups. So I'll go back to my email to see what has happened. Oh. All right. So there are multiple resources that you can go onto. I'm not VPN'd in. I didn't realize that. I'll VPN in a second so that you guys can see exactly how it looks like. But with that, I want to open it up for questions and take questions you may have. Sure?
I noticed that you had in there something about a CloudWatch stream instead of, CloudWatch is consuming CloudTrail data via the stream as opposed to the S3 buckets. Is that right?
Correct.
Can any other consumer consume that via the stream? Like your own app or something?
Reiterate that. Put that question again to me, please, because.
So in the CloudWatch isn't going to the S3 buckets to pick up the CloudTrail data. It's getting a stream of that data.
Correct.
Is there any way that any other consumer, like I could write an app that would consume the stream instead of consuming it from an S3 bucket?
No, the data that is going into CloudWatch logs is specific to CloudWatch logs. It is not consumable by anyone, unless you could programmatically retrieve those events out of CloudWatch logs by making get log events against CloudWatch logs. Okay. More questions? Sure.
Is there a way to go through and check when it's open API call, if it's HTTP or HTTPS?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Is there a way to check if an API call is HTTP versus HTTPS? So I could watch any non-secure calls?
I don't know the answer on top of my head, but I'm gonna, Sing-Young, do you think we have that information in the? Okay. So the question was, is the API call, can CloudTrail answer a question on whether the call was made over HTTP or HTTPS? The answer is no, not right now.
Could it decide based on what you see something started? Like alert if somebody starts using Classic?
Yes. So the question is, can someone get notified when a VPC is created in Classic or non-Classic? That's the question, right? So you could write a prescriptive metric filter in CloudWatch logs to have that particular events monitored, like I was just showing in my example, and can receive a notification on that. Sure. So we talked about it. I don't have a roadmap level question. This is not the right forum, but I can take it offline. But what you can do with Lambda is Lambda offers you another way to actually go ahead and take actions on CloudTrail events. Because the S3 event, because CloudTrail delivers the events to an S3 bucket, and you can interface with those puts via Lambda, you can obviously do that. There is someone in the back, so I'll go to them and come back to you. Please. I'm sorry? Can you write CloudTrail data to an EBS volume? That's exactly what CPL allows you to do. You could go ahead and take the data that is coming in to your S3 bucket, and if you wanted to persist to a block store, you would create a block store via create volume and then put data in there.
So I know CPL can process CloudTrail logs, and it also processes CloudWatch logs.
No, it doesn't. So the question, yeah, it doesn't. The question is, can CloudTrail processing library process CloudWatch logs? So the answer is no. CloudWatch logs is the repository of all log files that you're generating from different sources. So CloudWatch logs gives you the ability to go ahead and filter on particular patterns that you're seeing, which is very different from CloudTrail processing libraries specific to CloudTrail. More questions? So I'm going to quickly VPN in and show. Apologize, I should have VPN'd in. I didn't realize. Oh. Fantastic. I'm almost. I just want to show how the notification looks like for everyone. Any more questions? Right now, it takes 7 to 8 minutes for the events to be delivered into CloudWatch logs. But we're working on that, and you can expect that to go lower. Oh, you did? Yes, but what I did is, I'm sorry? Yes, because I set it up in Oregon region already. So that would be captured in Oregon region, and I demonstrated it for the Ireland region. So yeah, we do not have retroactive monitoring on that. I'm sorry, say that one more time? It is. So what we have is a concept of global events right now. So I already chose that my global events be delivered to all regions. You would configure that right in the CloudTrail console. And you simply select that include global events is S. And I'm sorry, I didn't get your question. Yes, you can do that. And then you just open it for the other region? Yes. Right now, you just created it for the Ireland region? Yes. So your CloudTrail is on Ireland, but your CloudWatch is in Ireland? Yes? No, I have already created that beforehand just for the sake of demonstration. Correct. You would have that in every region. Okay, so I'm connected, and did I just do it? Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. So I had 3 console failings at the beginning. So that was higher than the threshold of 2. So you can now get an alarm on that. All right. Thank you for coming in.